This was a yesterday's test paper related to the chemistry. So I'll discuss this test paper first and then paper 6. In the first question, at room temperature, in which substance are the particle further furthest apart? So you have to identify the state. Hydrogen is a gas, water is a liquid, magnesium a metal solid, magnesium oxide ionic compound solid. So in which substance the molecules are further apart? In gases, they are far apart from each other. So A is the right answer. Which method can be used to obtain the crystals from aqueous copper 2 sulfate solution? Aqueous copper 2 sulfate means we have a solution of copper sulfate and we want to obtain the crystals. So which method we can use? Either evaporation or crystallization can be used to obtain the soluble salt from solution. So A, chromatography is used to separate the two or more liquids from each other. For B, electrolysis, it's used to separate the ionic compounds. C is evaporation, so that's why C is the right answer. Neutralization, when acid react with an alkali, it results in a formation of salt and water. We call that as neutralization. 5 elements have the proton number 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18. What are the proton number of 3 elements that form oxide? Oxide means they should react with oxygen. So how we can work out this? We should know their group number, because using a group number we can identify their reactions with oxygen. So 10 means what will be the electronic configuration for 10? If there are 10 proton number, 10 electrons will be there. So 2 and 8. So means this will be inert, unreactive. For 12 it will be 2, 8 and 2. So group 2 can react. For 14 it will be 2, 8 and 4. That can also react, group 4 element. 16 it will be 2, 8 and 6. Group 6 can also react with group 6. But when you write for 18, so that is 2, 8 and 8. So it's already having 8 electron in the last shell, so 10 and 18 will not react. That's why C is the right answer. So option C is the right one. Because 8 and 18 means they belongs to group 8 or unreactive or noble gas element. The rows P, Q and R in the table shows 3 pairs of structure. You can see which pair are isotopes. So what is the definition of isotope? They should have a same number of proton but different number of neutrons. So structure P is representing the isotope. What about Q? When same type of atom but different structure, we call that as allotrope. So the first one is isotope. The second one is allotrope, when identical atoms but different structural arrangement. And the third one is actually a homologous series, that the elements, they have the same functional group, so it is representing homologous series. That's why A is representing the isotope. For question 4, which numbers are added to give a nucleon number of an ion? Nucleon number means the number of the proton and neutron. So when we add a proton and neutron, we get the nucleon number, which is also represented by A. In the molecule CH4, HCl, H2O, which atoms uses all of their outer electron shells, outer shell electrons in the bonding. So when you draw the structure, when we draw the structure of methane, carbon belongs to group 4. So carbon, each carbon will share 4 electrons, whereas hydrogen belongs to having 1 electron in the outermost shell, so it will share 1. So both carbon and hydrogen are sharing both of their outer shell electrons. If I draw a structure of HCl, hydrogen is having 1 electron but chlorine is having 7. Out of 7 it will use 1 in the sharing and remaining 6 unshared electrons are there. So chlorine is not using all of its outer shell electron. Even when we write the structure of water, H2O, oxygen belongs to group 6, so it will share 2 electrons, 1 with each hydrogen, and left unshared will be 2. So the question is, which atoms use all their outer shell electron in the bonding? So that is carbon and hydrogen. Which change to an atom occur when it form a positive ion? To form a positive ion, it should lose electron. When it will lose electron, proton number will be higher. That's why it will have a positive or net positive charge. Which compounds in is the formula correct? Ammonia. What is the formula of ammonia? It is NH3. Carbon dioxide, CO2. Potassium oxide. Potassium is group 1, so it is plus 1, and oxygen is group 6 minus 2. So potassium oxide is K2O, not P. P is not the symbol for potassium. Zinc chloride, ZnCl2, zinc is 2, because zinc is plus 2 and chlorine is minus 1, so zinc chloride will be ZnCl2. The diagram shows the molecule of 3 elements. Which of these elements present in water? First thing, if a single atom is there, it means it's a group 8. So group 8 unreactive, they are not present. What are the elements present in water? It contain hydrogen and it contain oxygen.
Sir, how single molecule are you
This is a single atom, a monoatomic gas.
Yeah.
These are representing 3 elements. This is one element, but for that element, it's only one atom. So which elements having a monoatomic molecule? That is group 8. Group 8 you don't find like He2 or Ne2 or Xe2, or you find a single atom only, and that
Yeah.
atom is also. But what is this single bond? So actually this is hydrogen. And what about the other one? That's oxygen. Oxygen belongs to group 6, so it will share 2 electrons with each other. So the first element is actually from group 8, the second element is hydrogen, and the third element which is given is oxygen. So which two are present? It contain hydrogen and oxygen. Is it clear? Yes, Hashim. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
The diagram shows that two gases are formed when a concentrated hydrochloric acid is electrolyzed using inert electrode. So if we have a concentrated hydrochloric acid, so it contains hydrogen ion, it contains chloride ion, and it also contains hydrogen ion and hydroxide ion. For positive ion, we check the reactivity, but in this case, because hydrogen is common, so hydrogen will move, and that will move towards the negative electrode or cathode. So we'll get a hydrogen gas. But it's a concentrated HCl, so for negative ion, we check the amount except sulfate, carbonate, and nitrate does not move. So here chloride ions are moved, so the chloride ion will move towards anode. So what is a chlorine? Chlorine is yellowish green gas. And what is hydrogen? Hydrogen is a colorless gas. So what are the observation? We'll observe a chlorine, which is a yellowish green gas. And for hydrogen, it will be a colored hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. These are colorless gases. Ammonia as well, pungent, but also a colorless. That's why C is the right answer. The diagram shows an electrolysis experiment to electroplate a nickel with different metal. Here we have a copper sulfate and the other one is sodium, aqueous sodium chloride. Which nickel electrodes are plated? So the electrolyte should have a less reactive metal, because what happened when it's a aqueous copper sulfate. So aqueous copper sulfate means it contains copper ion and it contains hydrogen ion. This is a positive plate, negative plate, positive plate, negative plate. Now what happened? Copper ion and hydrogen ion, two ions are there, but copper is less reactive, so copper will move towards the plate 2. So plate 2 will have a layer of copper. But when you have aqueous sodium chloride, so it contains positive ions are sodium ion and hydrogen ion. So sodium is more reactive, hydrogen is less reactive. So hydrogen will move towards plate, negative plate or plate 4. And hydrogen is there, which is a gas, so a colorless gas is given off or a bubbles are seen. Which nickel electrode are plated? So only electrode 2 is plated. In question 11, the diagram shows an experiment. Magnesium oxide powder is added to dilute hydrochloric acid. When metal oxide react with acid, so it is a neutralization, metal oxide, metal hydroxide. Then what about the type of the reaction? Originally the temperature is 20, then it becomes 22. So it means when the reaction occurred, that reactant particle release the energy which is absorbed by the water. That's why the water temperature increases. So it is exothermic, releasing energy, as well as
Sir,
neutralization.
how releasing energy? Endothermic. It gains energy.
It's not gaining energy. What happened? The reactant particle, you have magnesium oxide and hydrochloric acid, which are, hydrochloric acid is aqueous, dissolved in water. So when they react, water is not the reactant. When they react, they are releasing energy, and the energy which is released by them is absorbed by the water. That is why the water temperature is increasing. That's why you
So
increase.
magnesium oxide has hydrochloric acid.
No, magnesium chloride, magnesium oxide is solid. The particles of magnesium oxide react with hydrochloric acid, the molecules of HCl, which is present inside the water. So when they react with
Yeah.
each other, they release energy, and that energy is absorbed by the water molecule. That's why the water temperature increases. If the water temperature decreases, like example, same question was there, but instead of 20, it becomes 17. So what it shows, why the water temperature decreases, because when hydrochloric acid, magnesium oxide react, they take energy from the water molecule. That's why the water temperature
Sir,
decreases. So it
but
will be
but it's
endothermic.
it's
Yes.
it's the temperature of the solution. They
Yeah,
didn't tell
temperature
us
of the
that it's
solution here, it is dilute hydrochloric acid. All acids are aqueous. So this water is a surrounding for them. The reactants, when you are writing a chemical equation between them, you are not writing water as a reactant. So for them, water molecules are the surrounding. And for exothermic reaction, the surrounding temperature increase. It does not mean the room temperature. It means the container in which they react, that the container temperature will increase. So water molecules are surrounding for them. Coal, methane, and hydrogen are burned as a fuel. Which descriptions of this process are correct? Coal is there. When coal is basically carbon, carbon react with oxygen, it gives carbon dioxide. Methane react with oxygen, it will give methane plus oxygen give carbon dioxide plus water. And hydrogen is there. Hydrogen reacted with oxygen, so it will form water. That's happened in a fuel cell. So what happened to the fuel? So what happened to the fuel? Because oxygen is added, we call that as oxidation. And type of reaction, because you are burning combustion is always exothermic. So it is oxidized and an exothermic reaction. In question 14, so in this question, two reactions involving a water as shown. Iron sulfate plus water gives iron hydrated iron sulfate, and iron plus oxygen plus water gives rust. Which of these reactions are reversible by heating? So when you have a hydrated salt, like example, if you have copper sulfate, you add water molecules to copper sulfate, what it will become? It will become CuSO4.5H2O, become hydrated copper sulfate. But when I supply heat energy, the water of crystallization, this water is known as water of crystallization, that will be lost and I can reverse this. So if iron sulfate plus water become hydrated iron sulfate, when we supply the heat energy, it will release the water which absorb and give iron sulfate back. So X is reversible. What about rusting of the iron? Rusting of the iron is not reversible. You can reduce the rate of the rusting, but there is no reversible process for rusting. As we discuss how to protect the iron from rusting, but we did not discuss how to reverse the rusting because it is not a reversible reaction. So that's why B is the right answer. So whenever hydrated salts are produced, it means reaction can be reversed on heating. The diagram shows the speed of the reaction experiment. Magnesium is there, reacted with excess, means more than enough dilute hydrochloric acid at 25. Increasing the concentration of the acid and increasing the temperature both affects the speed of the reaction. Which line is correct? Increasing a concentration, what will happen? Greater concentration, it will be faster rate. And increasing a temperature, so when we increase the temperature, the particle will have more collision, greater the number of collision. It will also increase the rate of the reaction. But if we change an excess reagent, when we change an excess reagent, it will only affect the rate. The rate will be faster, but it will not affect the amount of product. The amount of product will be same for excess reagent. But if we change the limiting reagent, both things will happen. The rate will also change as well as the amount of product will also change. So for this one, both will increase because they are asking about rates only. That's why D is the correct answer. Barium hydroxide is an alkali. It reacts with hydrochloric acid. pH meter is there. What happened to pH of the solution of hydrochloric acid as an excess of barium hydroxide? Means we add more than enough. So in the beginning we are having hydrochloric acid and then we add more than enough, and the pH meter is recording. So initial pH will be less than 7 because it's an acid. So the pH is started with less than 7. When we add, it will be neutralized. But then we continuously adding until all of the hydrochloric acid is used up and we are left with more barium hydroxide. So pH will increase to more than 7. So which option is correct? The pH decrease? No, the pH will not decrease. Yeah, because excess or more than enough is used. So we are left with alkaline solution. That's why pH increases from 1 to about 14. Because first you was having acid, then you are neutralizing an acid. All the acid is completely used up. pH will be 7 if you don't have acid or alkali. But once you are adding more alkali, now the solution will become alkaline. That's why the pH will increase. Element X is at the left hand side of a periodic table, or like on the left hand side. Which line in the table shows the correct type and the properties of the oxides? So on the left hand side, what you will find metals on the left hand side. And which type of oxide the metal tend to form? Tend to form a basic oxide. Left hand side of the periodic. Or if you move on the right hand side, it will become acidic, non-metal, and form acidic oxide. The diagram shows the position of some elements in the periodic table. Which element form ionic bond with oxygen? Basically, oxygen is a non-metal, so we are looking for metal. So W is a metal, X is also a metal, group 1 and group 2. Z is unreactive because group 8. Y is the non-metal. So it will form bond, but it will not form an ionic, it will form covalent bond. Metal react with non-metal to form an ionic bond. So with oxygen, when they react, they will transfer the electron. That's why the bond will be ionic. The diagram shows 3 experiments using dilute sulfuric acid. 3 different powders are added to the acid. The mixture are stirred, which test tube contain copper ion. Basically, the test tube in which there is a reaction between the acid. So as you learn the reaction of acid, the reactivity series, you have potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, copper, mercury, silver, gold, platinum. So below lead, they cannot react with dilute acid. So if I add a copper metal to this sulfuric acid, there is no reaction. If there is no reaction, it does not contain a copper ion, because if a reaction occur, then it will form a salt. There will be a copper ion in the solution. When copper hydroxide react with sulfuric acid, it will form copper sulfate, and water copper carbonate react with sulfuric acid, give copper sulfate, carbon dioxide, and water. So in 2 and 3, we will have the copper salt or the copper ions will be there. So C is the right answer for this. The equation shows the reaction between a halogen and aqueous bromide ion. Always the more reactive halogen displaces the less reactive halogen. So if you have bromide ion, we need a more reactive, and for halogens, as we go down the group, the reactivity decreases. So if you have a bromide ion can react with fluorine or chlorine. It cannot react with iodine, so C and D cannot be an answer. So this should be chlorine. And when chlorine is more reactive, it will displace this bromine. So it will form a chloride ion and bromine molecule. What is the appearance of a bromine molecule? Bromine is brown in color. So first one is chlorine, bromide ion, chloride ion, fluoride ion. These ions are colorless, but their molecules have colors. So the second option, this will be colorless, no color. And the third one, that is brown in color. That's why option B is the right answer. The diagram shows an outline of a part of a periodic table. Which two elements could form a covalent compound? To form a covalent compound, they should be non-metal. So here, this is a non-metal but is a unreactive. This one is a metal. So metal, when react with non-metal, it will be ionic. So X is a non-metal and W is also a non-metal. When two non-metal react, they share electron with each other. So they will form a covalent compound. A student is asked to complete 2 sentences. Metallic and non-metallic elements are classified in dash, and this can be used to dash the properties of the element. Which word correctly completes the gap? So metallic and non-metallic elements are actually classified in the periodic table, and using this classification, using a periodic table, we can predict. We are not measuring anything, we are just predicting their properties. The diagram shows three balloons held by by children. Which of the balloon float up in air when the children let it go? So when you compare the densities of hydrogen and helium, they are lighter than air, so they both will rise. Carbon dioxide denser than air, so it will not rise. So what's the answer for this? Q and R will rise. That's why like we are using a helium filled balloon. Why not hydrogen filled balloon? Because hydrogen is reactive. That's why it is not used. Three mixtures are made. The mixtures are heated strongly. Which of the element carbon, copper, magnesium are reactive enough to reduce the iron? So what you have to do, you have to check the reactivity series for that. So when you check the reactivity, so copper is below in the reactivity position of carbon. It is between aluminum and zinc. So carbon is above, magnesium is above iron, but zinc is copper is below iron, so copper cannot displace. So here there is no reaction. There will be a reaction with copper and magnesium. So C is the right answer. Which property do all
Sir,
metals
how
have?
C is the right answer, sir? How C is the right answer?
No, B is the right answer, not C. I thought it is written carbon. B is the right answer. Carbon is more reactive, so it displaces. Magnesium is more reactive, so it displaces. Copper cannot displace. The question is, which of these elements are more reactive enough to reduce the iron from its oxide? So B is the right answer. I thought it is carbon is written.
Yes, sir, got it.
Which property do all metals have? They have their densities are low. That's only for group 1. Their melting points are high, but for group 1 melting points are not high. They act as a catalyst. Only transition element acts as a catalyst. They all conduct electricity because of free electrons. Copper, iron, zinc are all used to make things. Which of these three metals are also used in a form of alloy? Alloys means the mixture of the metal. When we mix two or more metals together, we call that as an alloy. So copper and zinc can be used, and iron is also for stainless steel. When copper, brass, bronze, and stainless steel. So these all are used for making alloys. Which diagram shows a common use of stainless steel? Stainless steel. This car body is made up of low carbon steel or the mild steel. Airplanes, it's an aluminum is there, alloy of aluminum. These plugs, the pins over this are made up of copper. So A is cutlery, it's made up of stainless steel, so it resists corrosion. The diagram shows stages of the purification of water. Which stage uses the chlorine? The purpose of the chlorine is to kill bacteria. So which stage you don't see a bacteria, that stage is used to have a chlorine, or we add a chlorine in that stage. So
Sir,
when
but
you
chlorine is used to,
hmm, used to
you know, control the acid,
control what?
the acidity of the water.
No, to overcome the acidity, that's another thing. It's what not about chlorine. If chlorine is dissolved in water, chlorine will make hydrochloric acid and hypochlorous acid. It means it make a water acidic. It's not. It's mainly about to kill bacteria because of in acidic medium, the bacteria are not able to grow. That's why D is the right answer. Here you see bacteria, 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 but after stage D, you don't see a bacteria. In experiment of rusting, some students are each given two metal objects to study. One student set up the apparatus. He used a brass screw, which is an alloy, and another one is chromium plated keyring is there. Which object rusted? So because brass is an alloy, does not rust. Again, chromium, less reactive metal, does not rust. Which substance is not a which substance is not a pollutant of clean air? Which does not pollute the clean air or a pollutant of a clean air? So noble gases, group 8, carbon monoxide can cause suffocation, oxides of nitrogen can cause acid rain as well as photochemical smoke. Sulfur dioxide can also cause acid rain. Which metallic element is needed in a complete fertilizer? Fertilizer means they provide three basic elements for the growth of plant: NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So which is needed for a fertilizer, or what we need for a fertilizer? So we need potassium. A newspaper article claimed that the carbon dioxide is formed as following: during respiration, that's true. When calcium carbonate reacted with hydrochloric acid, that's true. When methane is burned, that is also true. So all these process, the carbon dioxide gas is released or given off. So A is the right answer. The diagram shows an experiment. A damp litmus paper is there, a gas given off, ammonium chloride and sodium hydroxide. What is the name of gas? So ammonia is there. When alkali is added to ammonium salt, it releases ammonia gas, and ammonia is alkaline gas. So what will happen to the litmus paper? The litmus paper will turn blue. The diagram shows the pH values of a soil at X and Y, two parts of a garden of a house. The house owner wishes to use a lime, calcium oxide. Which part? So he can treat an acidic soil with the lime, he cannot treat the basic. So to which part should the lime added and why? Lime should be added to neutralize the acidic soil, and because lime is basic, so it can react with acid. In the molecules shown, the OH groups are numbered. Which of these OH groups react with sodium hydroxide? Actually carboxylic acids, acid react with alkali. That's why the two will react. For question number 35, the group 2 will react, but group 1 is alcohol. Alcohol, only two reaction you studied. One is combustion, another one is oxidation. When a suitable catalyst is added, is used, a methane react with steam. What is the structure? Ethane plus steam will give ethanol. So which one is the structure of ethanol? This one is the structure of ethanol. Alkene react with steam. That's called hydration, and the product is alcohol. The diagram shows the separation of a crude oil into a fraction. What could X, Y, and Z represent? So for question 37, X, Y, and Z, what they are representing? X is representing a paraffin or a kerosene. Then diesel is because petrol, naphtha, kerosene, diesel, paraffin or kerosene. Then diesel is there, and lubricating oil or a fuel oil is there. Which of the compounds shown are used as a fuel? Alkanes can be used as a fuel, alkane, alkene, alcohols, but carboxylic acids are aqueous. To use something as a fuel, you have to burn them. So carboxylic acid, as they're aqueous, you cannot burn them. That's why the first one, which is alkane, can be used as a fuel, alcohol can be used, but carboxylic acid are not used as a fuel. Which set of a diagram shows three substances that are all in the same homologous series? To be in the same homologous series, they should have the same functional group. This one is alkane, alcohol, so that's and carboxylic. Alkane, alkene, alkyne, alkene, alkene, and alkene because there's a double bond. And this one is carboxylic acid. You will learn in A level. This is called a ketone, and this is called ether. When oxygen is linking the two molecules, known as ether. So the first property is they should belongs to the same homologous series. Like they should have all the properties of the homologous series. So they to be same homologous, they should have a same functional group, that is alkene. Each member differ by CH2, but these are not the members. Why these are not the members here? Because like first member means C, if first member is C2H4, the next member should have 3 carbon and 6 hydrogen, so that each member differ by CH2, not between the same structure, same number of the carbon atom, and you can see there is no difference of CH2 between them. There is no difference in the carbon, only the hydrogen difference is there. The last one, to draw the structure, to draw a polymer, you will just draw the same structure but without a, or repeat the structure but without a double bond. So if I draw this and put a bracket and N, so which one is matches with, there should be one carbon chain and hydrogens will be there, so B it matches. So these are the questions related to the yesterday's test. Any question you want me to re-explain? Is it clear to everyone? Okay, I'll end the session and share another link to discuss paper 6 with you.